Hello, people. Welcome back. This is episode 2 of our recap, and today we're recapping Attack Clones. I'm myself, Sean Michaud, with we have Robin Vogt and Andrew Gerrish. How's it going, guys?
It's going.
Who talks first? You talk first? I talk first? Okay, awesome.
We're not in the sequel trilogy yet.
okay. I'll save that one.
We're still in the prequels.
We're still in the prequels. Okay.
We're still what would it be? 60 years of the sequel trilogy?
6 whole decades.
Would it be? Is it 60 or is it 50?
Whatever it is, it's old.
Yeah.
It's a boomer. It's a boomer.
It's old as a Baby Yoda, almost. Because Baby Yoda's 50
Yeah,
years old.
we're about a Baby Yoda's distance away.
I'm going to say that now. Every 50 years.
When you hit 50, you're Baby Yoda.
Yep.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, I'll still act like a child, but I'll look old. Like
Makes
Baby Yoda.
sense.
Older.
Sure. Older. I don't know. But we're discussing Attack of the Clones today, and you guys, we watched it today or recently, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I watched it. Yes.
I watched it not yesterday. I watched it the day before, so
Yeah.
I might be a little iffy because I'm still on Revenge of the Sith, which we'll be recording after this episode.
Yep.
So stay tuned for that. And I guess we'll you can start, Robin, with your top 4 moments of Attack of the Clones.
That you took away from it anyway.
That I took away from it. Okay, so I think probably I'll start at number 4, like the one that kind of is an outlier when it comes to Attack of the Clones, but it's the Geonosian ring scene in particular. Just when all the Jedi are there, they all come swooping in, and you literally, I mean, poor Geonosians, they just went there to see some people die, basically, like their tribal ceremony, and then suddenly all these Jedi show up, and they have to fly away and everything. And I love that scene because it gives you this, like, very wide-angle perspective of how big that Geonosian ring is. And in all honesty, I think it calls back to some of, like, the original Roman-style battle rings, and there's something very almost medieval and or Romanesque about it that I really enjoyed watching again. And I guess I didn't really pick up on it the first time, is that, you know, these are traditions that existed in actual culture in this world, and George took them and applied it to Star Wars, which was really cool to see. And then to have the Jedi. And number 3 for me, of course, is the whole C-3PO on a battle droid's body. You know what? It's so goofy, but I remember seeing it as a kid and just being like, this is hilarious. You know, C-3PO's head is on a battle droid. And then the other way around.
A couple days ago, too. After, like, it gives me a chuckle.
It is. And it's one of those moments where in this intense battle, you have something so silly happening. And it's like Jar Jar's moment in, you know, Phantom Menace, where he's just completely botching everything that's happening on the battlefield. So that was really cool. And then, of course, the one standout thing for me, I think, in particular for me, number 2, is everything that happens on Kamino, because there's that great mystery of why they are developing these clones on Kamino and the secrecy behind all of it. You know, the leaders of Kamino wouldn't come out and specifically say, you know, who ordered these clones in particular, which is, of course, the mastermind we learn later on of Palpatine himself. But he was the one who was able to put in the orders through Sifo Dyas or through whatever manipulation he was able to achieve to make this possible. And it's so cool watching that, and then going into the Clone Wars and seeing how Sifo Dyas is portrayed by Palpatine, and then that in the Yoda arc and everything, and just those connective tissues just brings it all the way back. And I think the number one thing for me is still on Kamino, is our first time seeing Jango Fett in action. Because I don't know if you guys knew this, but when Attack of the Clones came out, I was absolutely obsessed with Jango Fett because I loved Boba Fett growing up, the original trilogy. and I have to find it. Sean, I don't know. I may have showed you when we were on Ernest Avenue and we were recording over there, but I had a Jango Fett blaster, like a Halloween blaster.
Yeah, I think you did show me that.
And my dad and I'm gonna have to find pictures of myself. Folks, stay tuned. Of myself, my dad and I built a Jango Fett homemade costume
Wow.
because I didn't have a lot of money, so I felt like almost like the Mandalorian. Like I had to go out and get Beskar and stuff, and I had to
Yeah.
build my own. Except those other things like toilet paper rolls and whatever else that could be used. And I remember marching in the school parade as Jango Fett, and I felt so awesome. And he was the one character, and all the other kids, Princess Leia, Darth Vader, all these other characters. And I remember in particular because in Attack of the Clones, he did that thing where he took off with his jetpack and was shooting at Obi-Wan. I remember climbing up the slides at Main Street School in Exeter and jumping off like the end of one of the stair things and going pew 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 recess. So that moment to me, I think just has such a connection with my childhood and has such a connection with such a great moment. I feel as a kid that I connected with Star Wars and was able to show that to people, my love for Star Wars in that way. So every time I see that, I'm like, wow, okay, this is really throwing me back.
And I feel like everyone has that moment as a
Yeah.
kid. When you're watching Star Wars, you always have that either pretending to have a lightsaber or the early toy lightsaber was just using your own
Oh yeah,
pointer fingers as a gun, pew
Those
pew
fucking
pew,
stuff.
making
Yeah.
those noises.
And the marketing for Attack of the Clones, specifically for Jango Fett, was like fantastic. Like the trailers and stuff for his character alone was just really cool. Because I remember like each character had like individual TV like spots.
Yeah, they
Like
did.
they had one for Anakin, they had one for Obi-Wan. They didn't have one for Count Dooku, which I was surprised with, but they kind of left him a surprise in the movie.
It's true.
And then Jango Fett. Jango Fett was the best one out of the TV spots. And it's funny because, like, how you mentioned, like, jumping off the slide and stuff, it's almost like that moment at Fan Expo 2 years ago when we were there. And there was another congoer that had Obi-Wan's lightsaber.
Oh
and
yes.
I got Darth Maul's, and I just walk up to him, turn the lightsaber on, and we get into a lightsaber duel.
That's right.
The kid in us never goes away.
It never does.
And
No, it doesn't.
it's better to have fun with this stuff than to criticize every little detail that there is.
Yeah.
Of course. And I guess, Andrew, why don't I keep going? What was your top 4 moments, I guess, that relate to?
Top 4 is, well, the first one is anything with Palpatine in this.
Yeah.
He's in it very little, which I'm surprised with. Going back and looking at it, I forgot how little he was in this movie. Like, you don't really see Sidious at all, except for at the end. But every moment he's on screen, it's important to pay attention to it.
Yeah.
Especially when he's talking, oh, we need emergency powers and stuff like that. If only Senator Amidala was here, we could get that. Knowing Jar Jar is
the emergency powers.
Easy to manipulate. He gives him the emergency powers, which is all part of his plan.
Yep.
3 is everything on Camino, because we got more of it on Clone Wars, but it was the first time we saw a really unique planet like that. It was really the first like sci-fi part of Star Wars. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it's just really interesting how they developed the clones and everything like that. 2 is Obi-Wan's temptation. You know,
that's a great one.
Do you know which temptation I'm talking about, though? Because he never really got the full test yet.
Right. No. Oh,
No,
when
I can
Count
pick it, but
Dooku,
it's just
when Count
yes.
Dooku is trying to get him to join the dark side and everything like that, Obi-Wan hadn't really been tested like that yet. Like, yeah, he fought and killed, quote unquote, killed Darth Maul, but until that moment, he never had someone, hey, this is happening. Join me and we can stop this.
Yeah.
I don't think
Right.
I don't think he's ever like been really exposed to that.
Mm. And it's funny just quickly because he Dooku in particular is his master's master.
Yeah.
So it's that whole
Mhm.
family idea that you are the Padawan of my Padawan. There's no better candidate other than you to join me in this. That temptation is so hard to try to bypass, and you
Yeah.
could tell with
of
Obi-Wan.
course.
He was fighting it. He was fighting it so hard, and he
Mhm.
was able to do so.
And number one for me is the Tusken Raider scene. Specifically before it, when Shmi dies,
Oh yeah.
everyone
I
can
forget about that scene.
criticize Hayden Christensen's acting in these two films. But that moment when he looks up, that's
That's Vader.
that always gives me chills.
That's Vader.
And the
Mm.
music, the building up to it, and
Oh,
until that moment, we've never seen him tap into the dark side yet.
so true.
Even in the comics,
Exactly.
I don't think he's really tapped into the dark side until that specific moment.
It's only tempted him in the comics, like the Obi-Wan and Anakin comic. It only ever tempted him. It never actually penetrated him.
Mhm.
That
Until
that
that,
scene's very emotional.
yeah,
That helped
Oh, so emotional.
bring him to the dark side, I think.
like like if we were in that position, who wouldn't act in that way?
Oh, I would slaughter the Tusken Raiders, the woman and the children as well too,
Exactly.
as he said, and
Um,
became a famous meme.
That's why he hates sand.
mhm.
And I
But
guess, yeah, I guess I'll do my top four since, I mean, I think my top four, or number four, is going to be the same as you guys, as
Yeah.
the communal scene. I think it's so important, especially showing how the clones were made,
mhm.
how the planet is like. It's all water. It's so unique. Like Andrew
It
says,
is.
like you don't see that many planets. It's all just it's a whole planet of water, and just thinking how they build it in water,
Yeah.
which is kind of cool to see, I guess.
Yeah.
For my number three has to be the Zan Weasel scene, the chase scene. I think
Oh,
it's
that's a
very
That,
good
important.
that
one.
was a really good
I
scene.
think it's important because it shows. I mean, towards the end when they chase, they go to the underground side, and I think
Mhm.
that's it. They don't really. George Lucas has never showed the underground of Star Wars, which
Right.
is very
That was the
cool.
first
Like
time we saw like the ground level of Coruscant.
the ground,
Yeah.
yeah, ground level. It's all clubs and dealers, not really drug dealers, but
Death. No, well, death sticks. Death sticks. There was some
that's
drugs.
They're
yeah,
drug dealers.
You want some
yeah.
death
I
sticks?
mean, it made sense. Number two for me, I think has to be also the Geonosian ring, but
Mhm.
especially the part with when when Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Padme are uh about to get uh obliterated by these creatures, which
Mhm.
is cool to see. I mean, different types of creatures, which
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's what I always loved about the prequels, were the different creatures. And I know they weren't.
Like those ones that look like they have helium in the back of them and they could just float up into the air
Mm.
um,
Yeah,
that Anakin falls off of when he's trying to impress Padme.
yeah. I mean, I think it's so unique for these creatures. I mean, I
Mhm.
know they're CGI, but the, I
The
think it's a little.
CGI, again, the CGI
It
still
was so
holds up.
great. It
Yeah.
does,
I think the
especially that.
CGI holds up better in Attack of the Clones than it does Phantom Menace.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah.
Like those moments in Phantom Menace where you can see where it's like, that doesn't look too great. Clone Wars, sorry, Attack of the Clones.
It's hard. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Attack of the Clones, like, there's not a moment where I'm not impressed by the visual effects.
Yeah.
That's the thing that I love about the prequels is the effects are all fantastic in my view.
Mm-hmm.
You couldn't have pulled this off in the 80s or anything like that. It had to be done when it was done, when the technology was better and everything like that.
I was gonna say, especially that scene in Geno and the Geonosians with the things blowing up, and I mean, for a
2002
movie, those effects were fantastic at the time. Like, I think they were much better than iRobot, which that came out a little later, or was that a little earlier?
I forgot about that movie.
Well, that was on the earlier, so that's right. First thing I thought of. For my number one, I think has to be the scene where Anakin and Padme are in the droid factory. I think it's a very cool scene.
Oh yeah.
Just because I was always a big droid fan. I always loved the droids for the prequels. And
so you
for me,
you must hate it when the Mandalorian just kills all the droids that he walks by.
Yeah, I mean, I do like droids. No, I think that scene alone is just cool to see. Not just the clones getting made, but also how the droids were getting made as well.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
it's
so true.
Simple, but it's a huge factory. It's like,
and these are different battle droids too. They're not the regular Trade Federation battle droids.
I know there's probably like those factories. There's probably at least more than 5, 10, 20 buildings maybe. Of I don't know. I think that's really a cool scene for me.
That is a really cool scene. As like until besides the Tusken Raider scene, we don't really see how Anakin uses the lightsaber. Like we hadn't seen his lightsaber style yet until that moment. Because like in Episode 1, we gotta in the very beginning we gotta feel like this is Obi-Wan's lightsaber style. This is Qui-Gon's.
Right.
We hadn't gotten that with Anakin yet until that specific moment.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I think another moment that kind of goes underrated is the transition from the Geonosian ring to the Battle of Geonosis itself.
Oh, yeah.
And I think the one scene that kind of takes it away, I'm going to be honest, is when Padme falls out and Obi-Wan's like, "We can't go back for her. You know, let her go, Anakin." Basically, again, like we see in the next film after.
Yeah.
But I love seeing the ground battle. I love seeing the clones in action, the ships flying into the Battle of Geonosis. And I'm going to be honest, I wish we had a little bit more of that in the film. I wish that something had happened there during the Battle of Geonosis.
We were supposed to get a sequence of Plo Koon, Ki-Adi-Mundi, and a few other Jedi Masters going into one of the Trade Federation ships.
Right.
Going into like deactivated and stuff like that.
And the thing I miss, they don't show enough of the other Jedi, like.
Yeah, that was a missed.
I mean, you get like a few clips. Even Mace Windu in the movie didn't get much scene. In Attack of the Clones is more.
He did decapitate though.
Yeah, he did.
I mean, it was a good moment for him.
But. So I guess I'll start with my issues with Mace Windu. I'll really get into it with Revenge of the Sith, but how arrogant he is with saying with Padme suggesting that Count Dooku could be behind all this stuff, and how he's easy to dismiss it. He's like, you must remember that Count Dooku was once a Jedi. He couldn't assassinate anyone. He assassinated quite a few Jedi there. And I don't know.
Mace.
Just there's just a lot of issues I have with Mace. Like, yeah, he's not as much of a dick to Anakin in this one as he is in Revenge of the Sith.
Oh my god. I wanted to punch him in the face. The
Oh,
third
in
one.
Revenge of the Sith.
We'll get into my issues with him in Revenge of the Sith, but
Yes.
just how arrogant and smug he sometimes comes off in episode 2, just kind of like, maybe, like, yeah, he's a cool
I feel
character,
like
but it's like,
he was Dick
he's
Red and
not,
Yoda.
yeah, and I don't know. Like, the other thing that was really cool with the Geonosis battle is how silent the Jedi were able to infiltrate the arena. Like,
Oh, so true.
they weren't noticed until they were on the ledges around the arena and stuff like that. So it's like, that's another cool moment to like see, like, they can be pretty stealthy and like they'll just show up wherever and stuff like that.
I think another point of that scene, I think it was also interesting to show is like the level of not intelligence, but more of how the Jedi were used in that battle. I mean, some like a lot of them got slaughtered like instantly. It's like, oh, there must be Padawans, and then you have at the towards the end before the clone army comes to save their ass is down to like 15.
It's down to 15, and the only Padawans that are left is Anakin and Barriss Offee.
Yeah.
And everyone else is either a Jedi Knight or a Jedi Master. Now, I said this in our group chat, but Count Dooku is severely underrated as a character.
100%.
And it's because of Christopher Lee. Granted, we didn't get introduced to the character until like about an hour into the movie, or hour and a half or so. But just from that little section itself, the character easily became one of my favorites, and his lightsaber has always been one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Just the curve and the unique look to it. And it just makes it even better because when we get to A New Hope, his best friend, Peter Cushing, is Grand Moff Tarkin.
Yes.
So, and he specifically took the role because his friend was in Star Wars. So that was a cool thing that was there. It would have been cool if they had somehow had him meet Moff Tarkin at some point. Like, even in the Clone Wars, if they just met, it would have been a cool like nod to like the old Hammer films with Peter Cushing and Christopher Lee.
Yeah, it's a good point.
But what is your guys' take on Count Dooku?
I think he's very underrated as well.
Yeah,
but I think he gets his shining moment in Revenge of the Sith, which we'll talk about. I think, and which is one of my favorite Count Dooku scenes.
Yeah, I think the novels in particular have done some well for him as well. You know, of course, the latest,
especially Jedi Lost.
Yeah, Jedi Lost has done some fantastic things. I just started listening to the audio book version finally of Count Dooku Jedi Lost, and it's I can already tell, and I'm not even into the second chapter necessarily, but I can see the direction that it's going down. And I think one of the best things is too, I think if we're able to elevate his character, much like some of these others that were not necessarily included that much throughout the prequels, and boost them up, there's going to be enough fan demand where we say, okay, is it worthy of a streaming show? Is it worthy of something else? Now, Dooku's a whole other thing because we no longer have Christopher Lee, of course.
Yeah.
But there's nothing saying that you couldn't have a Dooku origin story and cast somebody to really.
Dooku was in Clone Wars.
Who would you cast as a young Dooku, though?
Wow, and that's where you get into some interesting territory, because I think where Alden Ehrenreich in the casting for Solo I think they missed the mark. There were a couple of candidates that I think would have played a better Han Solo in that case. I think that's one of those things that if they plan, and I don't have a particular name myself right now, that's something, and maybe we propose that as a poll to a lot of people out there.
Yeah.
Would you like to see? But I wouldn't rush it like they did with Solo and only give like 2 years worth of casting just to figure out who they'd want. I think
they should have
need
done
to start that process early.
Yeah.
And really look for somebody. I don't know. I think that there's people even in the DC universe who could probably play. You'd have to almost have somebody who has been in comic book film, comic book.
I do have a
series
person
to do it.
in mind.
Yeah, Sean, share that.
And I think if you ever guys see Westworld, I think
I've heard of it, but I haven't seen it yet.
The guy who plays William Jimmy Simpson, I think would be a fantastic young Count Dooku. I mean, he kind of looks like him as young.
So, folks, Sean, sorry, I don't mean to start laughing on your hosting of a podcast, but Andrew's being completely inappropriate. But it actually fits with Attack of the Clones completely because I was actually going to ask you guys. I was going to ask you guys.
I just got the message.
I was going to ask you guys in particular on this, like that whole entire scene in Attack of the Clones where Anakin's basically like begging Padme to have sex with her. Like that's literally what he's doing that entire time.
Well, the corset she's wearing is like, hey, look at my fun bags.
Right. But I think I love that one moment where he's like, I have this pain, I want to be with you and everything. And then he turns around and he's like, please tell me if you feel this pain as well. I'm like, that is like the worst pickup line you could ever have.
Also, Attack of the Clones is the worst ending ever.
Oh, the whole marriage of Anakin and Padme.
I think it's so cheesy and
it
doesn't fit.
I would have preferred the wedding before we get to the reveal of like Palpatine looking over the troops and stuff like that. But okay, so everyone who comments on the creepy Anakin trying to flirt and everything like that, everyone who's like, oh, I was never a creep trying to get my first girlfriend, they're all fucking liars. Robin was one of these creeps.
Hey, hey, I want you to do something. All right. I want both of you to go ask Jenna and ask her how I first approached her. Ask her. And she's probably going to be like, he was a creep. That's probably what she's going to say.
Put her on speakerphone.
No, she doesn't.
I'm just texting you. I'm going to be like, so how did Robin ask you out?
Actually, she technically asked me out. That's how that worked.
Oh, so should I just be like, how much of a creep is Robin? Or was Robin?
How much of a side eye did you give her?
Or should I ask, on a level of 1 to 10, how much of a creep was Robin like Anakin?
You'd be like
Anakin, my goodness. Oh, I have set myself up a large target right now.
Scale of 1.
Oh no, here we go. Podcasters out there, if you know Jenna, she's going to have a very interesting response to this.
On a scale of 1,
Sean, you and I had her on a podcast.
How do I word it?
As Anakin Skywalker.
On a scale of 1 to 10.
She's gonna message me and be like, "How do I answer this?"
Much.
On a scale of 1 to 10, rate your relationship and compare it to Anakin and Padme.
How much?
She'll give me a 2.
I can't even put it to words. Like how much of on a scale of 1 to 10.
This is awesome.
How much of a creep is Robin like Anakin, or is Robin
compared to Anakin?
How much of a creep
is Robin?
On a scale of 1 to 10.
Robin to Anakin. Okay, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much of a creep is Robin to Anakin?
Oh my goodness.
Compared to Anakin.
Well, folks, this could be either make it or break it in my relationship. I'll let you.
And we will find out when she sees.
She's gonna message me. Are you recording a podcast right now? Not like Andrew's messaging me. He only messages when they're making fun of you.
Pretty much.
I guess we'll do one more thing for the Attack of Clones. And what would you like to see? And like make it or break it from the last episode. Episode for the Revenge of the Sith.
Revenge of the Skywalker.
Revenge of the Skywalker.
Revenge of the Skywalker. For the Rise of Skywalker. Andrew, I'll let you go start first.
Make it or break it?
Yes.
He's going to say everything is break it.
No, honestly, on this rewatch of Attack of the Clones, I kind of appreciate it a little bit more than I used to.
Wow.
I kind of did.
Honestly, I would like to see more clone stuff.
Ooh.
If the Sith troopers are like clones again, that would be a really cool make it for me. Break it. Honestly, I don't really know what would break it.
How about we'll come back to you, Robin? How about you?
Yeah, come back to me on that.
Yeah, I agree with Andrew on the make it. I think we need some clone stuff, and I refer it all the way back to in Force Awakens when Kylo Ren looks at Hux and says, "Well, maybe the Supreme Leader should consider a clone army." It's that line. I knew it had some validity to it in some shape or form, and it's starting to make sense now that Palpatine's back in the Rise of Skywalker. That, oh crap, Snoke was probably Palpatine, and that's where that reference is coming from because Palpatine summoned the clone army himself. So that's that interesting connective tissue that JJ had set early on that's now starting to come back in. So if that is true and that's how they want to do it, my make it is that the Sith troopers, like Andrew says, are clones that Palpatine had made. This is the rise of his own army, the Sith army itself, and they are attacking. They are clones. They are by his law, much like Order 66. They obey whoever the commander is. And they go
and
by.
They say you're a teacher.
You know what? That's the weekend. I'm not a teacher on the weekends.
Fair enough.
You're a podcaster.
And my break it. I mean, I really don't want to see any lovey-dovey stuff. As much as I love like talking to Raylo fans and everything.
That would be a break it. If it's organic, I'm fine.
Yes, I agree. Finn and Rose, organic, great, fine.
Yeah. Finn and Poe. If it's organic.
If they do it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Anakin and Padme are badly forced. There's no connection. There's no let's fuck or there's no there's no
Oh, I could totally see Poe just looking right at Finn and be like, you know what? This is it. Let's just fuck. You know?
Well, Anakin and Obi-Wan had a better relationship.
Did you see the way Poe looked at Finn when he had his jacket on?
Hey, you know what? That a man with a leather jacket's always a good look, right?
You saw him bite his lower lip and then pat his shoulder.
Who didn't?
True.
For me,
that's a conversation for another time.
For my break, it has to be the same with the lovey-dovey stuff, and just to know that don't end it off with in a crappy way. I don't think J.J. Abrams will do that.
The wedding of C-3PO and that little alien guy. That's
the wedding of Palpatine and Rey.
But you said that's her grandfather.
I mean, the Skywalker family wasn't opposed to incest before.
That's true. That's true.
And
especially when Leia says, "I've always known."
Yeah, that is like, wait, what?
We'll get more into that when we get to Return of the Jedi.
Yes, we will.
For my make it, probably has to be like similar to the Geonosian ring. Like make
a
it
battle
some
like that.
Yeah, like some badass battle. It doesn't have to be it doesn't have to be a space. I mean, I think we're gonna see a space battle, but
It's going to be the space battle of all space battles.
I hope we get another scene kind of like the Geonosian ring, but 10 times more better and more fleshed out in a writing sense.
Makes sense.
It does make sense.
What was your break it, Andrew? Was
if
the lovey-dovey?
There's like a forced love thing, Finn and Rose is very forced. Kylo and Rey, I do see it kind of becoming organic with them having a love scene, not sex, but a special scene, not a. Never mind.
I mean, I felt like Rey and Poe. Rey and Finn were forced. Looks like they're forced, but I think
Finn and Rey would have been very forced.
I think Poe and Rey would be.
I could see that being somewhat organic.
Yep.
I don't know.
Interesting.
I guess. Any last thoughts about the Attack of Clones?
I like the subtle uses of the Imperial March in the soundtrack. Also, okay, this is just a personal question. Which theme do you like better, or is better to you? The Anakin Padme theme, or Han and Leia? For a love theme, which one is better?
Even though the love is forced, I do like the music for Anakin and Padme.
Mm-hmm. They're very similar. They're very similar in very many ways, and I think that's on purpose because of that Anakin and Leia connection. I think that's why John Williams scored the Anakin and Padme love theme, in particular their connective theme, the way he did. But I think the one that still holds up to this, the one that holds up the most is the Han and Leia theme.
Oh, of course.
It's the one that's used for marketing, and it's used. So I think that holds up, but I like the composing for the Anakin and Padme one. I do.
I'm in the same boat. But yeah, nothing else on my end.
No.
Although I do think they misused Duel of the Fates with Anakin's search. It's like he's riding a bike and Duel of the Fates is playing.
Yeah, that was.
Yeah.
They could have used a different theme there. I think they should have used Duel of the Fates for the Battle of Geonosis.
They should have used Crazy Train.
That would have been interesting.
Right up on the rails and the crazy train.
He's just going like right on. Yeah. Get your motor running, dun 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 dun, heading on the highway. I don't know.
Again, Disney Plus really cleaned up Attack of the Clones too.
Oh, 100%.
It really did. And I think that would be it for the Attack Clones. So, Robin, where could the good people find you?
Are you thinking that it's plug time?
Did I forget to step? Oh, it's plug time.
Yeah, you did.
You did, but it's okay, John.
Yeah. Sorry, I was trying to rush it because we don't want to make this episode too long.
Oh, of course not, because this is gonna be a double release for the folks between Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith. But anyway, yes, you guys can follow me over on Twitter at Mr. Vogt Tweets, over on Instagram at The Official Vote, and of course www.brickcityblockade.com. More content coming up there soon, and of course our YouTube channel. Please subscribe. Leave us a comment, join the conversation. That connective tissue between YouTube and the rest of social media is something that we are going to continue to push forward here. And the audio podcast, look for those out on iTunes and the rest of those podcast listening apps coming up.
Andrew?
Well, you can find me on Twitter at agarish1, Instagram Andrew62592, YouTube Commander Nerd. I have still yet to post my next video. I might do one tonight, not sure, or I just might wait until opening night to do.
You never know.
You can also find me on Brick City Blockade's YouTube channel as well, because I'm kind of always around. So there's that.
There's that. You guys could. Oh, did you not finish?
I'm done.
Oh, you are? Okay. I thought you were about to say something.
I'm done with you.
Done with you. I hate you. That's the next episode.
We'll get into
you guys can follow me. You guys can follow me on Twitter at ShaakMichaud1. Follow my Instagram at ItZoneZ. Follow my music at Bandcamp. Bandcamp. And SoundCloud. And friend me and follow me on Facebook. And we'll be posting this episode right up on YouTube right after this. So if you guys missed this episode, it's on here. And the next we'll be doing the Revenge of the Sith.
Robin, you're lucky. She was a diplomat.
Oh.
She said, "Well, I've never met Anakin, so I can't fully answer the question."
That's my girl. Yes, that's my girl.
She did laugh at my question, though.
Yes. Oh, that girl never ceases to amaze.
I totally could see her saying that too.
If she messages you or asks you why I asked that, just let me know what your response is.
Yes.
And as we always say on the podcast,
hey, Robin's not that bad of a guy.
May the force be with you.
Always.